They've hurt me, and they've caused some pain. They've caused some stress. I mean, I'm dealing with cancer. Now I'm a victim of a bait and switch.
2-year-olds, they don't have a voice. He doesn't have anyone to speak up for him. And if we don't speak up for him as his parents, then who will?
Piney Point was 100% avoidable.
Bishop's Harbor is classified as an outstanding Florida water, but it has received more pollution than it should have ever received in its entire lifetime from the phosphogypsum stack at Piney Point.
Understand that maybe if somebody even is in jail, maybe somebody did make a mistake, that maybe the family shouldn't have to pay an equal price.
They're human beings. Stop trying to get rich off of them.
Public Justice is a legal advocacy organization that uses all of the tools, litigation, strategic communications, and public education and advocacy to tackle the largest strategic threats to justice in our country. And we do so using 4 specific targeted projects: our Student Civil Rights Project, our Environmental Enforcement Project, our Debtors Prison Project, and our Access to Justice Project. Our Student Civil Rights Project is dedicated to ensuring that all students have equal educational opportunity and do not suffer discrimination on the basis of race, gender, sexual orientation, or gender identity, so that all kids are able to learn and live their best lives.
We are located in Birmingham, Alabama, and we have two boys who are just full of energy.
When JW was a 2-year-old enrolled at Heritage, a private religious preschool, he, because of his progress, was promoted into a new class where for nearly his entire time in that class, he was the only Black student. And really, from the start, the head teacher in that class singled him out for excessive discipline.
They would say things like he got upset if a friend took a toy away from them, or
He crawled under the table.
She would punish him for that, even though she wasn't punishing white children for the same behavior.
At some point, there were, 4 or 5 in one day.
There was actually an assistant teacher in the class who told the Williamsons other children are not getting in trouble for doing the exact same things that JW is doing.
To mistreat a 2-year-old, that's tough.
The school eventually decided to expel JW based on those discriminatory reports. And they initially gave the Williamsons 2 weeks to find alternative childcare, which is hard enough. And when the Williamsons spoke up and said, hey, we don't think that this is fair, we think that JW is being targeted, the school revoked that grace period and said, you're out of the school today.
Now you're feeling as though, the whole rug has been pulled from under you and really didn't have many options.
There are a lot of schools that will try to shield themselves from being subject to civil rights laws by, for example, not taking federal funding. If you don't take federal funding, you're not going to be subject to certain federal civil rights laws. 1981 isn't one of them. By bringing this case, we have an opportunity to, 1, show how this law can be utilized, but also 2, to develop the legal standards that are used in evaluating these cases. A couple months ago, we got a decision on Heritage's motion to dismiss, and the court said, nope, this is more than enough for the Williamsons to allege that they and JW were subject to intentional race discrimination and to retaliation for speaking up. And so this case gets to move forward.
We're gonna share our story. We wanna do what we can to fight, and we want people to know what happened to us so that we can be a change agent.
Our Environmental Enforcement Project uses the unique tool of citizen suit litigation to go after corporate polluters at a time when governments either are unwilling or unable to do so themselves.
You name it, we have it in Tampa Bay. It's a really biodiverse spot.
One of the reasons why we have phosphate mining here is because there's not too many places in the world that have phosphate deposits that are easily accessible.
One of the legacies of this industry are these massive phosphogypsum stacks. We have more than 24 of them in Florida, and some of them are currently operated, some of them are closed, and some of them are abandoned. When Piney Point actually happened, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection had to make a choice: risk the complete failure of the stack or relieve some of the pressure from the stack by discharging that untreated wastewater into Tampa Bay. And so it picked the latter. But that wasn't without consequence. It was a complete crisis for this community. We had to close our beaches. We saw manatees, hundreds of manatees, succumb to red tide toxicity.
The nice thing about being an environmental lawyer and working for the public interest is that I am able to pick up a phone and call my colleagues. And so I was able to call Professor Lopez. We started talking and figured out that, wow, maybe there is some type of lawsuit we could bring to try to correct this injustice that's occurring.
When you have an environmental disaster like we have, you need the support of many people as you can get. And I know for us, as a smaller organization, being able to get the support from public justice and working with you all put some muscle to the fight a little bit.
We filed the lawsuit in order to compel a closer look at the regulatory structure and its failings, and frankly to demand changes.
Probably one of the most important victories that we achieved is actually getting the site covered under a lawful Clean Water Act permit where it never had that prior.
To me, it's massively, it just makes so much sense to protect our water because that's protecting our economy, our community, our way of life.
Our Debtors Prison Project recognizes that our criminal justice system often exploits communities and prioritizes revenue over safety, destroying families and communities.
In this case here in Michigan, we found that several jails entered into contracts with jail telecom companies. And in these contracts, the jail is told by the telecom companies, if you get rid of in-person visitation and install our video kiosks and our video system for calls, we will give the jail a portion of the proceeds we make off of those calls.
It was impractical, it was unfeasible. You couldn't hear anything, it glitched a lot, lagged out. Majority of the time that we were talking, you couldn't hear anything.
That video call, even functioning at its best, separates Trey and his kids from being able to see each other, from the kids being able to understand, daddy's okay, he's gonna be coming home at some point, and seeing, he's still a presence in your life.
And it was expensive. I don't remember how much they were, but I think they were like $20 or something for 15 minutes.
The reality is that it is just another way to take this captive market that you have, a literal captive market, and make money off of it.
I met Katie through her son, Bobby, who was in the St. Clair County Jail. Myself, a lawyer, and a couple other investigators, we went and got lunch and coffee with Katie and just kind of met her and wanted to learn, who is Bobby? What does Bobby mean to you? And what does it mean to be separated from him?
It was a mother's worst nightmare. If you don't let us hug them, let's at least hold their hand. Because you get this little screen. You can just see this part of their face.
When you don't have that way for the kids to communicate with you, to talk to you, to see you, to touch you, you have a barrier there, like a block wall. And it's pretty impenetrable.
Both cases are now up on appeal at the Michigan Court of Appeals. We're hopeful that we can achieve a good result under the Michigan Constitution that recognizes the sanctity of the right to family integrity.
Right to Hug just fits perfectly into the world that public justice is trying to build, where there is justice for everyone, regardless of who you are, regardless of financial status.
Our Access to Justice project recognizes that there is nothing more important than for an individual to have their day in court. And so whether we are fighting forced arbitration, defending class actions, or taking down any of the other barriers to justice, our Access to Justice team works to keep the courthouse doors open.
As a retired military nurse, this home is my heart and soul.
Susan's case is the perfect example of why access to justice is so important.
When you get a diagnosis like multiple myeloma, it consumes you. You start planning for the inevitable. I wanted to make sure that my house was strong and safe, and that's why I looked at Renewal by Andersen, because I had 3 inches of ice on my windows, and I'd have to go in there and chop it off and fix it.
So she brings out a Renewal by Andersen representative. He explains that she can qualify for this fantastic loan, a 0 money down, 0% interest, 0 payments for 2 years, the exact time that Susan thinks she's going to be going through treatment. That sounds like an amazing deal. So she agrees to submit an application for this program to find out more.
I started getting emails that I would start needing to make payments. I thought, make payments?
She didn't agree to buy windows. She thought she was applying for a loan. And she didn't agree to a 25% interest loan. She thought she'd qualified for a very different loan. She certainly didn't agree to arbitrate her claims, to give up so many of her rights related to those contracts.
I was angry. I was mad. I thought, this is not going to happen to me. This isn't going to happen to other people.
On June 6th, the 10th Circuit issued its decision in this case. It agreed entirely with the district court that Susan's claims belong in court, not in individual confidential arbitration.
These 4 stories, coming from communities across the country and as different as Florida, Alabama, Michigan, and Oklahoma, demonstrate that we are all one community and that we have to all fight for each other to build the world that we want to see.
If you don't have support, you don't have attorneys, or you don't have the advice you need, you get taken.
Public justice has been incredible.
To know that there is someone out there that can be an advocate for you, that was very encouraging.
There's only so much we can do as smaller grassroots organizations in like our area, and it's important to collaborate with folks that are doing this work.
It felt like the tide shifted when public justice got involved.
They understood, they knew where I was coming from. They knew right away.